Today we are going to read a couple of Am I the Asshole posts from Reddit, but we're not just going to read them. No, we're taking these folks to court. All of you will get a vote on whether they are or are not guilty of being an asshole. But every time we hear one of these cases, one of you will randomly be brought in to be the voice of the poster. Welcome to court. I will be your judge today. We do have a few folks joining us here in the courtroom today. You can see a knight, an orc over there. So let's go ahead and get our trial started here with the first of our Am I the Asshole posts. Notorious TVM. Welcome to the courtroom. Today we are talking about, am I the asshole for wearing smart glasses when my husband hates them? I bought the Ray-Ban Meta glasses. You all seen those before, chat? They look like Ray-Ban Wayfarers with clear lenses, but they've got like cameras in the top right and corners of them. For context, I work in the tech sales field. I keep up to date with the trends so I can be knowledgeable about them and sell them because I've actually used them and can speak on the products. My husband is absolutely livid. He says he feels like a camera is pointed at him constantly. I showed him that when a photo is taken, a flash shows, and if a video is recording, a light blinks. You can't be secretly recorded. I like them. I can hands-free take calls at work and type or do paperwork without wearing earbuds that get uncomfortable or have to be on speakerphone. I can quietly listen to music and still be aware of the goings-on around me. And most of all, I wear glasses. So for me, it's a win-win. My husband says he doesn't want me to wear them around him or look at him with them. He has this weird fear of them, that they're recording him. I asked, why would I record him? He picked up his phone and held it to my face and said, I'm not recording you, but this is what it feels like. Am I the asshole for not respecting a boundary that he has obviously set because he feels so uncomfortable? Yes, I could just wear the glasses when I'm at work and not around him, and I feel that's the compromise. But am I the asshole if I just choose to wear them when I want because I feel like he's being irrational? That is what is up for us to judge today, chat. Now, Notorious CVM, you have been brought before the courtroom today to share your perspective on the matter. Notorious CVM, please give us your defense or your perspective on the matter. Okay, the DVM feels strongly that this person is not the asshole and that her husband is maybe being a little irrational. I wouldn't use the language DVM used. Now it is my turn to rule. The person said two sentences that to me feel quite at odds with one another. The first thing they said is, I work in the tech sales field. And the second thing they said is, you can't be secretly recorded. I disagree. While I understand that this person wants to have the experience of using the product that they are selling, they've already said they could just use these at work. Their husband has expressed a clear boundary that they are uncomfortable with the potential of always being recorded from the perspective of their SO's eyes. I don't think it's a huge ask for them to just not wear them at home. And so I say that they are guilty of being an asshole. But it's not just up to me. Chat, it's up to you. You're the jury. Type 0 if they are guilty, 1 if they are not guilty. And the votes are in. 59 people voted that they are guilty of being an asshole, and 39 of you all voted that they are not guilty. Split vote. I will tell you, this reputation score here, if you all rule in my favor, my reputation goes up. If you all rule against me, my reputation as a judge goes down. So, it worked in my favor. But I will say, if you have ever checked out the Am I the Asshole subreddit, if they get a strong enough consistency in one side, it does tag the post with whether they are an asshole or not. This one is tagged. It was consensus agreed that this person is an asshole. Thank you, DVM, for joining us in court today. I appreciate your short contribution. All right, next up, with a capital Z. Well timed, as with capital Z said moments before. This is the strangest court I've ever been in, and I've been in a lot of courtrooms. Count this one amongst them. With a capital Z, I have a case for you. This one is titled, Am I the Asshole for Buying a Guitar with My Boyfriend's Credit Card? I, 23 female, and my boyfriend, 27 male. I'll call him Mark. We've been together for 3 years now, and I decided I wanted to get my boyfriend a gift. He's a guitarist, and he's been wanting this one particular guitar, a Jackson King 5 Series Pro. Talks about it and said he'd love to own one. So I've always heard that the best gift is something that someone wants but will never get for themselves. I was at a guitar store looking for a gift or something, and then I saw it. It was a Jackson King 5 Series Pro. It was not exactly the one he always showed me, but it was close enough. I knew he wanted it, so I thought I would surprise him. We are by no means rich, but we live comfortably, so I didn't think he'd mind paying $2,400. I ended up buying him the guitar. I did use his credit card, which in hindsight, I guess wasn't a good idea. I just figured it won't matter since he never makes me pay for anything. I took it out of the case it came with and propped it up in the living room, and I waited for Mark to get home. When he came in, I hugged him, kissed him, and told him, "Happy anniversary. I got you something special." He went into the living room and just about jumped through the roof with excitement. He instantly started thanking me and telling me all about how special this particular guitar was in comparison to the regular King 5. And I just said, "What can I say? I've got good taste." We talked, and then it happened. "How much did you end up paying for this thing?" Mark asked, and I nonchalantly answered, "It was like $2,500, but I don't think we will have a problem paying it off." Then he just stared and asked me what I was talking about. I proceeded to explain how I wanted to do something nice, but $2,400 was a bit much up front, so I put it on his credit card and I figured we'd pay it off together. Mark is not an angry person, but he was more angry than I ever imagined he could be. He just started yelling at me. I know I messed up, but he could at least be a little bit grateful. But he ended up bringing it back to the guitar store, but I guess they can't return it because it was on a credit card or something. I don't remember. When he got home, I thought he'd be in a better mood. But he didn't end up coming home until late, and when he did, he just went straight to bed. This was 2 days ago. He still hasn't spoken to me. With a capital Z, that is the case that I bring before you. Of course, a trusted member of this community, a regular in courtrooms. Please share your perspective on this matter. I hope he breaks up with her. She is definitely the asshole. Again, you know what? You all are nice and short and sweet, very punchy. She's the asshole, and I hope he gets broken up with. I appreciate your perspective. It clearly comes from a place of great court experience. I know that this is a tough one to get behind, but I too will register that this person is guilty. That is all. That is all.
Guilty. Thank you. That is all.
And now let your voice be heard, chat. Let my reputation grow as a judge of the people. As one that really knows how their people want justice to be brought upon. We do have a unanimous decision that they are guilty, but chat, I actually have an update. So thank you everyone for the comments, even if some of you were a bit harsh. I can now see perfectly clear how extremely foolish I had been. And I'd like to address something I mistakenly said, as well as update on events of the last few days. For starters, I didn't not buy a Pro Series King 5. The guitar I actually purchased was a Jackson King 5 Select Series KV2, and it was used, in case you were wondering. So Mark's been staying with his mom for the last couple days. We finally had a chance to sit down and work this out. We went to a small pizza place to eat and talk. I paid. I cannot believe this person wrote "I paid" after. Oh, that's my favorite part of this whole post. Anyway, he explained why he was upset, and he basically said everything you guys said. I apologized, and we began to figure out what's going to happen next. I took some advice from here, and I took a few of my expensive clothes to a designer store called Future Fashion. Got them looked at to see if they'd be worth anything. I told my boyfriend that this was the plan. And right now, counting money from my savings account and the stuff I sold, I have $1,750 and a potential $900 for the bag, which according to my math should be $2,625, which means I'll have some left over to buy him a quote real gift. I told Mark and he was glad, and he's going to be taking the money to pay off a chunk so that we don't get interest or whatever. I don't know how that works, to be honest. As far as our relationship goes, things will be okay. Mark has calmed down and just wants 3 things to happen. First, I'm not allowed to use his card without permission. Secondly, I need to show that I fully understand my actions. And 3, pay him back. He basically told me as long as those conditions are met, then things will return to normal. He does really like the guitar, which he admitted in a silly way to try to lighten the mood at the end of the talk. But like you all have said, what I did was wrong, and I will never let it happen again, and I'm gonna fix it. So there you go. Hey, if that is learning from mistakes and taking accountability for her actions, then we love that. She was absolutely the asshole in that situation. And for the record, Reddit agreed. All right, bring forth the Alexandra B. Welcome to the courtroom. I bring to you, my God, this court case. Am I the asshole for continuing to change in front of my window even after my neighbor complained? Early 30s female. Bought a house last year with my fiance. Our neighbors are a woman, her husband, and their college-aged son. Everything was fine until a few weeks ago when the neighbor woman came over, visibly upset, and told me she saw me changing through my window and would appreciate if I didn't do that there. I was surprised because the angle of the window makes it so that someone would really have to go out of their way to see anything. I checked it out myself. And unless you're standing in a very specific spot in their yard, you can't see much at all. To be clear, no one in her family has ever mentioned seeing me. She was just, quote, worried that they might. I didn't feel like I should have to change my habits for her, especially since they'd have to be actively trying to look in, so I kept changing there, as I had been. Well, she came over again last week, this time freaking out at my fiance, calling me a whore and accusing me of being disrespectful. I honestly think it's ridiculous. I'm in my own home, and I'm not flaunting myself. Her husband came over and apologized and said he asked her specifically not to do that, and clarified he hadn't ever mentioned seeing me, nor had his son. My fiance told me just to get new blinds, or try to change in front of a different area. But I think that's and I've been doing it since I moved in. Am I the asshole? That is the one that I bring to you. Maybe the last one was quite obvious to you, a unanimous vote. But the question comes to your representative in the courtroom, green-skinned goblin? I'm not sure how you are being represented here today, the Alexandra B, but let us hear the voice of the people. Okay, so I am also a naked window neighbor, and I think not the asshole. Please have mercy on my soul, is what the Alexandra B said. If we call this person guilty, I'm guilty too, is what she said. That's so funny. Chat, I must make my ruling. I have some questions. The first is, she said, I had to look for myself, and unless you could see in from a very specific part of the yard. Now, I want to know, did she go in the neighbor's yard with them? Or did she sort of like sneak into their yard? I also just have questions about like, girl, where are your blinds at? No blinds? Aren't blinds kind of nice? When that sun is hitting from that specific angle in my eye when I'm trying to work, it's good to be able to close them. But ultimately, I see both sides here. My ruling on this is that she is not guilty of being an asshole. But ultimately, it doesn't just matter what I think. The court case is up to you all. It is a little bit of a split, but not entirely split. 17 of you all said that she is guilty of being an asshole. 70 of you all said that she is not guilty. And again, my reputation grows as a man of the people. Bring me the next juror, Mr. Capybara. I find your dress a little bit inappropriate, but the Alexandra B came in wearing nothing but a loincloth. At first, I was taken aback by the Alexandra B's apparel, but then I found out they're the naked neighbors, so actually it represents the Alexandra B perfectly. All right, I bring you the next in our line of voting. And this, I believe, is going to be a bit of a tricky one. Am I the asshole for telling my friend that I'm sorry her parents don't love her as much as mine love me? Whoa. You just stop there. It's pretty rough. I, 22 female, have a friend named Amy, 22 female, who I met in college. Currently, we are in our last semester of college. I live alone, but she shares her apartment with 2 other people. We never really spoke about our finances much, but I know that both of our parents currently pay our rent. The issue started when we talked about our future plans. Keep in mind, it's gonna be important. Currently, both parents pay both rents. I told her that I'm probably going to get a job and do my master's at the same time so that I can save up a little, but also to finally have my own money to spend on some things that I love and to travel. She laughed at me and asked what kind of salary I expect while working part-time to be able to afford all of that. I shrugged and said, I didn't have any expenses that I'd need to cover really, just food and that's it. She looked shocked, asked me about rent and stuff, and I said my parents will be paying for it. She then went on a rant about becoming an adult, how she can't wait to be independent, how she doesn't want to take money from her parents and stuff like that. For the most part, I tried to nod my head and listen to her, but then she said something like, I'd feel like a bad daughter if I were you, and that really made me feel embarrassed. My parents want to pay for my apartment. They can easily afford it, and I'm not the type of person to be ungrateful for it. I spend a lot of time with them. I know they don't lack money for anything. I got annoyed and I told her to drop it. We can talk about something else, but she continued talking about how her parents want her to be a real adult, how I'll never be ambitious unless I struggle, and just more and more nonsense. I just cut her off and said, well, I don't know. Maybe my parents love me more than yours love you, so they want to pay. I'm sorry for that. Can we talk about something else? We didn't talk since, and I do feel bad because I know that love has nothing to do with money, and looking back, it's such a rude thing to say. But I just said it to shut her up because she was insulting me, calling me spoiled for no reason. I wasn't even the one to start this conversation, nor did I probe into her finances. She was the one who kept it going. Ever since that day, I feel a pit in my stomach. I really didn't want to insult her. So now, I ask you, as the representative of the man fam in the courtroom, please prepare your defense and be ready to share it. Mr. Capbear says, Poster is guilty of being an asshole, and friend is definitely upset about it, but didn't need to continue with maybe my parents love me more. Now, while I do not think that it is the right thing to do to say, maybe my parents just love me more than you. It sounds like Opie had tried to change the subject, had tried to move off of such a contentious topic, and only when pressed, when made to feel bad, she struck back. Now, I'm not saying that that is the right thing to do. I'm saying I understand it. And I don't think that overall I would judge this person as an asshole. And so for that, I say not guilty. And so now allow your vote to be heard. The votes are in, and it is the most contentious vote we've had so far. 23 votes for they are guilty. 59 votes for they are not guilty of being an asshole. This post did receive the tag, everyone sucks here. There is also another option, which is no assholes here. We, of course, in court, can only find somebody guilty or not guilty. That's how court works. I know, as a judge. Bring forth the next juror, Kim STX. I believe this one again may be contentious. The title of this is, Am I the asshole for dropping off my friend's dog at a doggy daycare when I was supposed to be watching him? My friend, 25 female, asked me, 24 female, if I could watch her dog, Cody, for 2 weeks while she went back to her home state to deal with some family issues. She told me that he was potty trained, good with people, and good with other animals. I have a cat, Tawny. I had been to her house a few times, and at least during the times I've been there, he's usually a sweetheart. I said yes. When it came time for her to leave, she dropped Cody and his things off. First thing I realized is that Cody wasn't as house trained as he claimed. Maybe he knew it was wrong to pee in his house, but he clearly thought it would be perfectly okay to do it in mine. It happened on the first day, and when I told her, she said she had let him outside rather than walking him like she usually would. So maybe he had just sat outside and did nothing rather than do his business. It had been on the vinyl wood floor, and I caught it immediately, so I just let it slide. Cleaned it up, took him for a walk right after. But as the days went by, and it happened more than once, it became clear to me that he just wasn't that well potty trained at all. The second thing I realized is that, yes, he's friendly with other animals, but that doesn't mean good with other animals. Tawny had no problem with him when he was calm, but when he was hyperactive and getting all up in her space, she would get hissy and swipe at him. I ended up banishing him from the upstairs, but that led to another problem. Cody hated to be alone at night, and he made sure that everyone knew about it by whining and barking till he would tire himself out. I finally ended up calling my friend, telling her that her dog isn't as well behaved as she claimed, and that she needed to tell me another friend of hers she felt comfortable enough to hand him off to, or that I was just going to end up sticking him at a doggy daycare that she'd either have to pay for or pay me back for. She got upset and asked why I had agreed to dog sit if I was just going to dump him, but I agreed to dog sit a dog who was painted as not having behavioral issues. She couldn't find someone she could trust to take care of Cody, so I found a non-expensive but decently well-reviewed doggy daycare to drop him off at. She said she'd pay me back since I ended up paying up front, but that she was really cross with me and wasn't sure she could depend on me for things anymore. I felt totally justified originally, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized I could totally understand why she'd be upset, and that I essentially went back on my word and also made her pay for a service she hadn't planned on using. In parentheses, I hadn't asked her to pay me to watch her dog. There is some extra info, but I'm going to pause there and allow Kim to be the voice of the people. Tell us, Kim. Yikes. This is a tough situation. I say that although she agreed to watch the dog beforehand, that she didn't get what she was told. Asking the friend first was the way to go, and doggy daycare was fine since another option was not available. Kim says, not the asshole. I agree, this is a tough situation. And because it is a tough situation, I bring to you a little bit of extra information. Now, after this post was made, many comments came with questions about the situation, and OP edited the post and provided a bit more information based on some of the commonly asked questions. Number one, I know how to care for a dog. Before I moved out of my parents' house, I was the main caretaker for my family dog, Prince. One of the reasons I was convinced that she hadn't trained Cody as well as she claimed was because Prince never had accidents, no matter where he was, once I had potty trained him. He understood that if he's inside, he shouldn't do it. Number two, the daycare wasn't something I just chose on my own haphazardly. I looked through the places near me, and she agreed on one for me to take him to, according to reviews and pricing. Number three, I followed the instructions of Cody's care given to me. 4 walks a day with 4-hour intervals, starting at 8, with a last call to the backyard before bed. As for attention, I like to think that I gave him plenty. I played with him indoors and outdoors, and he'd sit with me on the couch during downtime. He didn't really beg for attention during the daytime, and he didn't beg for attention during night unless he got permabanned. Number 4, I wouldn't say Tawny is socialized with dogs per se, but Cody isn't the first dog she's been around. She's been around Prince, but we had him trained not to rush at people or jump at people, and that translated to other animals as well by default. So she never had a problem with him. When my friend had told me, quote, good with people and other animals, I had assumed that meant he probably had similar training. Ultimately, I think this is, again, a tricky situation. As Kim says, with the extra information, I will say, knowing that the dog's owner agreed to the doggy daycare he would be taken to, knowing that the OP has experience with a dog, I think the only part of this that maybe gets a little tricky to me is the cost. But ultimately, in a very tricky situation, because we must provide a binary response, I say OP is not guilty of being an asshole. But it is not up to me, it is up to the voice of the people. It was close. 30 of you all said that OP is guilty. 50 of you all have said OP is not guilty. For what it is worth, while you did not win in court today, those of you all that said they are guilty of being an asshole will find that you agree with Reddit. 50 cat people in the jury. One more court case. Bring forth the juror, Chef Dion. Might I say, Chef, you are dressed so appropriately. Did you say hello to the naked neighbor on the way out? Chef, I have a very serious court case for you. The title of this one is, Am I the Asshole for Making My Neighbors Think I'm in a Cult? I am tempted to just have us vote right there. I, 24 male, am a huge fan of board games, particularly Dungeons and Dragons. I host weekly D&D sessions at my apartment with a group of friends, and it's been our tradition for the last 5 years. We get into it. We dress up, we light candles, we chant dramatic incantations, we play some ambient music. I know it's more than the regular player, but we like it, and we find it funny. Recently, my neighbors, an older couple in their 60s, moved in next door. They're nice enough, but pretty old school. Anyway, they've been giving me these weird looks lately and avoiding me in the hallway, which I thought was odd, but I figured maybe they just weren't into socializing. Well, last Saturday, during one of our sessions, we got really into it. My friend Dave, 23 male, was doing an epic monologue as the evil sorcerer we were about to defeat, and I may have been waving around a fake sword while wearing a hooded cloak. We were deep in the moment when I heard a knock at the door. I opened it, still in costume, and was greeted by my very concerned-looking neighbors. Before I could say anything, the wife blurted out, "We've seen the people coming and going, the chanting, the cloaks, the swords. We just want to make sure everything is okay." I was caught off guard. Without thinking, I blurted out, "Oh, we're just summoning demons. Nothing to worry about." And then I laughed because obviously I was joking. They did not laugh. In fact, they looked even more horrified. They just mumbled something about being good Christians and backed away slowly. Fast forward to the next morning, and I find a pamphlet slipped under my door for a, quote, cult deprogramming service. They even included a handwritten note offering to introduce me to their pastor, quote, to save my soul. My friends think this is hilarious and keep suggesting we lean into it, like start wearing robes to take out the trash or chant in the hallways. I'm honestly tempted to mess with them a bit, but I'm also kind of worried I've legitimately freaked them out. Am I the asshole for accidentally making my neighbors think I'm a cult leader? And should I clear things up or just let them believe it? Chef Dion, what is the will of the people? Chef. I lost Chef. Bring in another juror, Figment fan, I will hear your defense. Not the asshole, but don't mess with them on purpose. As a person dressed as a member of a cult, I understand you probably bring a very specific perspective to this as well. I agree. You are simply playing D&D. Please wear your robes, speak in fun voices, light candles, and try to read your dice by terrible lighting. If that happens to convince your neighbor that you are part of a demon-worshipping cult, then so be it. But you need not perform rituals in the hallways to further their beliefs. Just turn up the game even more. I say not guilty of being an asshole, and I turn it over. It is in fact unanimous. 73 votes saying not guilty of being an asshole. No one votes that they are. Thank you, Figment fan. Thank you, Chef Dion, for coming in as a real professional. I'm sorry that something happened in the kitchen that pulled you away. I did see that you registered your vote as not an asshole, but I understand fires happen in the kitchen. Court is adjourned.